Alright, so I guess I'm going to go back to talking about transition stuff. I can't seem to make this video for the job that I thought I wanted, but all I seem to really want to talk about are the things that I want to talk about. So, transition, there's no end to it. I feel like I've transitioned from a place of being in between to another place of being in between. And I think I realized I've just got to be comfortable being in between. Which, in a way, maybe was easier when I was identified by other people as being female. I don't know. I don't know. I feel more comfortable and I feel more confident now. But I don't know necessarily how to talk about my transition experience. I don't know how to make it relevant, and it feels really relevant. It feels like there are important conversations that I want to have. Important to me, maybe important to other people. Um, but I don't know when and how to bring it up. Sorry, there's a little wren like hopping around right next to me. Um, so I've had this amazingly profound experience that has changed my life, obviously. I'm in a lot of ways the same, but in so many other ways, I'm totally different. And I have these new perspectives on life and gender and sexuality and the creative process and fear and probably a million other things. I've never really been great at sharing my thoughts and opening up and being vulnerable, especially around uh, my experiences with transition. And I feel like the longer I've been on testosterone, the more difficult it's become for me to open up. And I think that's part of my journey. I think that's part of the lessons that I'm learning is how to balance that process of feeling the emotion, feeling the thought, and expressing it. And I think that it comes back to the masculine and the feminine. I think it comes back to those two energies that I think that I've always um, experienced in a way that's been difficult to put into words. These things are still difficult for me to put into words. Probably even more difficult now for some hormonal reason. um, I think that's part of what I'm learning so that maybe I can teach it. I think that's, you know, uh, I think that we're all learning lessons in our lives. And if we can learn how to learn those lessons and then teach them to other people, that I think is what we're supposed to do. I think that's, as human beings, that's how we're going to help each other grow and to evolve and to expand our perspectives, our collective human perspective. Is when we can learn the lessons that we are meant to learn in our lives and then teach those lessons to our fellow human beings. That is where the magic happens. So I've spent the last 5 years deep in my own life lessons, and I'm emerging, and I have made my way through a lot of those lessons. I mean, I'm still on the path. I'm still learning. I will always be learning, and I think it comes in layers, right? Like, we'll learn some things, and then we go back into that lesson, we learn more things, and we just kind of dive deeper and deeper and deeper into those lessons. And so, right now, I feel like a big lesson that I'm learning and wanting to talk about. And when I say teach, I don't really mean teach, let me teach you the way. But I think what I mean is I want to share my perspective and share some of the things that I've learned for myself. And maybe some other people can take those lessons that I've learned for myself and sort of reflect it back on themselves and learn their own lessons. And maybe it'll help people on their own path of figuring some of this stuff out. Because a lot of it was really hard to put into words, and it's complex. And I love it, and it's fascinating, and at least to me it is. And I don't always know how to talk about it, and I don't know where to talk about it. And I'm connected to all these communities that I don't really participate in. I observe them, but I don't contribute to them. And that, to me, has to change soon, because there's this outward expression of energy. There's this outward expression of energy. And I don't know if it's this masculine piece, it feels masculine, that is out of balance for me right now. And I don't know if it's because I'm an introvert or if it's because I am INFJ. Last I checked, I don't know if that's changed. There are these pieces of me that are fluid, that are moving, that are not constant. And I'm going to try to stop saying trying to, because I think that will keep me in a perpetual state of trying. So I'm also really conscious of my language, the words that I use, and I think that has also inhibited my ability to communicate with my words, because I am really conscious of the words that I use. There's a squirrel right there, like 10 feet away. Just trying to get his nut. It's so much easier sometimes just to sit and observe and not put your own shit out there. And I'm inspired every day by people who are doing it. And I have the desire. I have the desire to put it out there. But then when I sit down to find the words, I get scared. And I don't know. Testosterone makes it more difficult, has made it more difficult for me to use language in the way that I used to. I don't have it figured out yet. So I'm going to ramble and just see what comes out. Maybe I can. And then when I get to the other side and I start watching these videos, these rambly videos that I make, the last thing I want to do is put them out in the world, because I get really judgy of myself. And I don't want to watch them. I don't want to watch myself ramble, and I don't want to watch myself try to figure it out. So I just store them away, kind of like weaklings, kind of like everything that I've been doing the last 5 years in this transition experience. And I don't know who it's relevant for. I don't know. I don't guess that is my problem to figure out. I need to just start putting it out there and just forgetting about the audience. But that doesn't seem right either from my marketing background. The audience is sort of like at the forefront of storytelling. At least that's been my experience professionally. So I feel like I'm at these crossroads of where I've been and where I'm going, who I've been and who I've become, professional and personal. And I think that all of these lines are sort of intersecting now, and I don't quite know what to do with it. I want to be an example of how we can all do this, how we can all share our stories in a real way. Um, and I feel like that's part of what I'm supposed to do, is to put myself out there. And I've done it. I did it 5 years ago. 5 fucking years ago. 5 freaking years. It's the most vulnerable I've ever been is when I started the coming out process and announced my transition to the world. And then I went into hiding, and that's where I've been until now. And it feels like it's time for me to start sharing some of my story again, and it feels time to share some of these ideas and my perspectives and the things that I've learned about myself and about the world. But it's still just as scary today as it was 5 years ago. And I know, like, it was fine. I was scared. I was scared. Like, you cannot imagine how scared I was. But I did it, and then the fear took over again. And I think I had this idea then that once I overcame that fear and put myself out there and I opened myself up to the world, to my world, that it would be easy after that. Like, I would have it down. But it is a muscle that you have to work, or else it will atrophy. And that's what's happened for me. I've allowed that to happen. So I'm working through it. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still transitioning. That's not going to change. It's not going to stop. I'm going to always be in a state of transition. It may not be a transition from female to male anymore, obviously. Not to say that I have arrived in terms of my maleness, but I'm still changing and I'm still becoming who I'm meant to be. And I think that's maybe the case for all of us. Like, we're just all in a perpetual state of change all the time. I've sort of embraced that about myself. I sort of love it. I love being a different person every time I see people I haven't seen in a while. I've always enjoyed that process of change, and I think that's the creative process. And obviously, that's sort of the intersection with my professional career, is a sort of infatuation with the creative process. And it is the process. It's not the end product that I'm interested in. It is the process of creativity. I think that's one reason I was a bit unsuccessful as an art teacher because I cared more about the process, and the administration really cared more about the product, the end product. And I wanted to cultivate and nurture the process in students and helping them kind of tap into their own creativity. And all the administration really cared about is what we were producing. And I think that's the state of the world that we're in too, is people really only care about the end product. Um, and maybe in transition too, that people really focus on the end product. Like, here you are, you're a man now. And, you know, for me, it's not about that end point. There is no end point. Like, it's, the carrot is perpetually out there. Like, I'm just always chasing a carrot that is moving beyond my reach. And that is the joy of it. That is fun. And I think when I look at it that way, um, and I let it be about the process and not about the end point. So, creative process is one conversation I want to have. Identity is another big piece of the pie, a big piece of the conversational pie. Lots of food analogies. All right, let's see what happens with this video.